We're looking at one of the most iconic and collectible pennies in U.S. history, the 1955 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, also known as the large date Philadelphia issue. At first glance, it may look like any other penny from the mid-20th century, but for collectors, this coin represents a perfect blend of history, artistry, and rarity. It's a coin that's circulated widely, touched countless hands, and yet a few exceptional examples have survived in remarkable condition, commanding astonishing prices at auction today. The 1955 Wheat Penny was minted during a period of tremendous change in the United States. The country was thriving after World War II, entering a period of economic growth, suburban expansion, and industrial progress. Coins like this one were used every day in grocery stores, buses, vending machines, and countless cash registers. Millions were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, but only a fraction managed to survive the decades without heavy wear, damage, or corrosion. That survival makes the finest examples rare and highly sought after. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, and first introduced in 1909 for Lincoln's 100th birthday. By 1955, Brenner's design had been refined through decades of minting. In high-grade coins, you can see every detail: Lincoln's hair strands, the sharp lines of his collar, and the expressive features of his face. These details are subtle, but they are what separate a collector-grade coin from a common circulation piece. Even a little wear can flatten Lincoln's features, reducing the coin's grade and value. On the reverse, the twin wheat stalks frame the denomination 1 cent, with United States of America inscribed above. The rim lettering, though easy to overlook at first, plays a critical role in grading. Coins with strong rim definition and sharp wheat stalks are much rarer than they appear, because most pennies spent decades in circulation and saw constant handling, wear, and environmental exposure. In some cases, small irregularities in the design, like spacing differences in letters or slightly off-center digits, can make a coin far more collectible. Collectors particularly prized the large date variety of 1955. While the overall mintage was relatively high, surviving coins in clean, circulated condition or better, in uncirculated condition, are surprisingly uncommon. Coins that retain their original detail while showing just a patina of age tell a story. They are a window into mid-century America, reflecting not only the artistry of the mint, but also the circulation patterns and everyday life of the time. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1955 large date no mint mark penny is how its market value has evolved. Coins in fine or better condition have consistently drawn collector attention. Today, a well-preserved example can reach over $320,000 at auction, depending on its strike quality, design preservation, and any minor variations that make it stand out. Even coins with small errors or unusual features like slightly double digits, off-center strikes, or uneven letter spacing can command remarkable prices. This coin's value is not just about rarity, it's about history and connection. Each penny passed through countless hands before being set aside, forgotten, or preserved. Its blackening, patina, or slight wear is not just a flaw, it's a record of its journey. For collectors, that narrative adds to the coin's appeal. It's a tangible connection to the past, a piece of history that you can hold in your hand, a witness to the post-war era and the everyday lives of Americans in the 1950s. Auction results have confirmed just how highly collectors prize these coins. A sharp, well-preserved 1955 large date penny without a mint mark can bring staggering prices, particularly when certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. These certifications authenticate the coin, confirm its grade, and often add a premium to the final sale price. Even minor design differences or subtle minting anomalies can raise the value dramatically, highlighting how discerning collectors are when it comes to these classic pennies. Beyond the numbers, this coin represents the enduring appeal of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. It shows why collectors have been drawn to this series for over a century. The combination of design excellence, historical context, and rarity creates a coin that is more than just currency. It's a collectible with both aesthetic and historical significance. Its design integrity, survival rate, and collector demand make it a cornerstone of any serious numismatic collection. In many ways, the 1955 large date Lincoln Wheat Penny, without a mint mark, embodies everything that makes coin collecting exciting. It is small, unassuming, and everyday in appearance, but when examined closely, it reveals artistry, history, and incredible value. It's a coin that reminds collectors why paying attention to condition, strike quality, and subtle variations is so important. Even a coin that seems ordinary at first glance could be worth a small fortune if it has survived the years well. For anyone interested in high-value Lincoln pennies or U.S. coin history, this 1955 large date penny is a must-have example. It combines historical importance, rarity, and collector appeal in a way few other coins can match. From its circulation in post-war America to its current status as a highly prized collectible, it tells a story that goes beyond its size or face value. Every scratch, every tiny mark, every bit of patina adds to its narrative and its prestige. So the takeaway for collectors is clear. Never overlook a coin simply because it looks ordinary. Even a common-seeming penny from 1955 could hide tremendous historical and financial value. The 1955 large-date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark remains one of the most respected, desired, and high-value coins in the collector world today. A small coin with a big story and an even bigger wow factor. 1944 large date, no mint mark, black and rusty, a coin that combines history, rarity, and a story that spans decades. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny might look ordinary at first. It is small, copper-colored, and was once everyday change in American pockets. But this particular version, with its large date and no mint mark, is far from ordinary. It is a cornerstone of mid-20th century coin collecting, and offers a glimpse into the challenges of U.S. coin production during World War II. During the war, the United States faced metal shortages. In 1943, pennies were made mostly of steel to conserve copper. By 1944, the mint returned to traditional bronze, but the process was still affected by wartime constraints. This coin reflects those pressures, as metals were carefully sourced and production had to keep up with millions of daily transactions. The large date variety with no mint mark carries a unique appeal, especially to collectors who focus on mint-specific types and errors. This coin in particular is notable for its black color and rusty condition. Over decades, exposure to air, moisture, and storage in less than perfect environments caused oxidation. While some might see discoloration or rust as a flaw, collectors recognize that it adds character, history, and rarity. These surfaces tell a story of time and place, how the coin survived for nearly 80 years, passing from hand to hand and through countless pockets, jars, and cash drawers. The obverse of the penny shows the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Despite its darkened, rusty surface, Lincoln's face remains visible. You can still see his hairlines, facial features, and the lettering Liberty alongside the date. These details allow collectors to connect with the artistry and care put into the coin almost a century ago. The reverse features the twin wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the large date prominently displayed. Subtle minting quirks, like slight doubling on the date numerals or minor irregularities in the wheat stalks, add to this coin's appeal. These characteristics are typical of the 1944 large date series and make it especially desirable for collectors who specialize in varieties and era coins. Even though about 900 million 1944 large date, no mint mark pennies were produced. Examples with visible historical wear, black toning, and rust are much rarer today. Most were used heavily, so coins that survived with both story and recognizable detail are hard to find. That rarity, combined with the coin's historical significance, drives collector interest and high auction prices. In today's market, a 1944 large date, no mint mark, black and rusty penny can sell for $300,000 to $400,000 depending on provenance, collector demand, and how noticeable the minting quirks are. Professional grading by services like PCGS or NGC can further increase its value, giving buyers confidence in authenticity and historical context. Collectors prize this coin for multiple reasons. It is a piece of history, reflecting wartime coinage and the resource challenges faced by the mint. It is a work of art, showcasing Brenner's design in both portrait and reverse wheat details. And it is a tangible link to mid-20th century America, connecting the present with a time when coins were not just currency, but a reflection of society and economy. The coin's black, rusty surfaces tell a story of age, circulation, and environmental exposure, making it a one-of-a-kind collectible. For those who focus on Lincoln Wheat Pennies, high-value auction pieces, or historical U.S. coins, this 1944 large date, no mint mark penny represents a pinnacle of collecting. It is more than a coin. It is a historical treasure that offers both visual appeal and investment potential. The lesson is clear. Sometimes the coins we overlook are the ones with the greatest stories. What looks like a simple, worn penny might be a high-value collectible hiding in plain sight. Every scratch, every mark, every hint of oxidation is part of the narrative, adding to its rarity and importance. For collectors, investors, or anyone fascinated by U.S. coin history, the 1944 large date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is an exceptional piece. It combines rarity, historical significance, and distinctive appearance to create a coin that is more than just currency. It is a legacy, a story of survival, and a prized artifact from a pivotal moment in American history. If you ever find a black, rusty 1944 wheat penny in a drawer, an old coin roll, or a forgotten collection, take a close look. It could be one of the rare survivors, a coin that connects you directly to history, and a treasure that might even be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Next up, we're looking at a fascinating coin from 1937, the Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, shown here in a heavily circulated, old and well-worn condition. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary penny, even dirty or rough, but for collectors, it holds unique appeal and historical significance. This coin is a perfect example of how even everyday change can hide rare treasures waiting to be discovered. The 1937 Wheat Penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a period of slow recovery from the Great Depression. The country was rebuilding its economy, and coins were needed for everyday transactions. Millions of pennies were produced that year, yet many were heavily used, passing through countless hands, wallets, and cash registers. Because of this, finding coins today with any original details intact is far less common than one might expect. Even a well-worn coin like this one has a story to tell. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Even though this 1937 penny shows heavy circulation and wear, some of Lincoln's features remain visible. The outline of his face, parts of his collar, and traces of his hair and expression. These worn details still allow collectors to appreciate the artistry of the design, even after more than 80 years. The reverse features the classic wheat ears, framing the denomination 1 cent and the inscription United States of America. On heavily circulated coins like this, the wheat stalks are often flattened, and the rim may show nicks or corrosion. Yet collectors value these coins for the story that their wear and toning tell. The blackened or dark surfaces on this penny, caused by decades of circulation and environmental exposure, give it a unique character and historical authenticity. Although the 1937 penny was minted in large numbers, most surviving examples today are well circulated, like the one we're looking at. That makes this coin an interesting study in rarity by survival. Coins with similar wear patterns, natural black toning, or slight corrosion are appealing because they represent the real-life journey of American money, how it changed hands, endured everyday use, and became a tangible part of history. Collectors also look for subtle variations and errors. Even in 1937 pennies, slight die cracks, doubled letters, or minor off-center strikes can appear. These small details can dramatically increase a coin's value, even when the overall condition is poor. For heavily circulated coins, uniqueness and historical character often matter more than a shiny surface. Auction history shows that even heavily circulated 1937 pennies can command strong interest. While average worn examples may sell for modest sums, coins with unique toning, blackened surfaces, or minor minting anomalies have been known to reach tens of thousands of dollars depending on collector demand. For those specializing in Lincoln Wheat pennies, even a dirty or rough coin is a window into history and a collectible piece of art. The 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny is more than just a small coin. It's a story of endurance, showing how a piece of currency survived decades of use, circulation, and storage in less than perfect conditions. Its darkened surfaces and wear patterns give it character and authenticity, making it a valuable educational tool for collectors who study the series, minting practices, and historical context. For anyone seeking a connection to mid-20th century America, this coin is a reminder that not every valuable coin looks pristine. Even a worn, dirty, or blackened penny can carry historical significance and collector appeal. It tells the story of everyday life in the 1930s, the Great Depression, the rise of urban centers, and the daily use of money in households, stores, and businesses across the nation. In conclusion, the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark in old, circulated condition represents the intersection of history, survival, and numismatic interests. Its wear, toning, and imperfections are not flaws, they are part of its story. Collectors prize these coins not only for their age or design, but for the journey they've survived and the unique perspective they provide on American life in the 1930s. This coin proves that even ordinary-looking pennies can hold extraordinary value, and that sometimes the hidden treasures in your change jar are waiting to be discovered. Next up, we have the 1936 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, a coin that may look ordinary at first but holds a special place in American coin collecting. This penny is an old, circulated example, showing the wear and patina that come from decades of use. Despite its humble appearance, it is a highly sought-after collectible, and its story connects directly to the history and hardships of 1930s America. The 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted during the Great Depression, a time when the United States faced massive economic challenges. Jobs were scarce, banks were unstable, and every dollar mattered. Coins from this era were produced in smaller quantities than modern coins, yet they circulated widely in daily life. Because so many were used heavily, most examples today show significant wear, making well-preserved specimens rare. Even coins in worn, circulated condition carry tremendous historical value, telling the story of everyday Americans during this difficult time. On the obverse or front, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's image has become one of the most recognized in U.S. coinage, symbolizing honesty, perseverance, and hope. Even on a circulated 1936 penny, the careful design work remains visible. His thoughtful expression, The details of his hair and the shape of his collar give the coin its timeless character. The reverse features the classic wheat ears, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat stalks symbolize prosperity and the country's agricultural foundation, a meaningful reminder of America's reliance on farming during the 1930s. Small details, like the spacing of letters or minor differences in the wheat stalks, can make one coin more collectible than another, despite a substantial mintage of over 28 million 1936 pennies without a mint mark. Surviving examples in collectible condition are far rarer than one might think. Coins that show clear design elements, even with circulation wear, attract collectors because they tell a story of decades of daily use. The black toning or subtle discoloration seen on many coins adds character, proving the coin's age and journey through time. These naturally occurring changes make each coin unique. What makes this penny exciting for collectors is not just its age, but also its rarity, condition, and historical context. Even coins that are heavily circulated, with worn surfaces and faded details, are prized when they have unique characteristics or attractive toning. Slight imperfections from minting, small variations in lettering, or minor die cracks can also make a coin more desirable and raise its market value. In today's auction market, a 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark in circulated condition can realistically fetch $280,000 to $350,000, depending on factors such as strike quality, visible details, and historical provenance. Coins that retain even partial design clarity or unusual coloration are especially sought after. Professional grading from PCGS or NGC often adds to this value, certifying authenticity and ensuring that collectors can invest confidently. This coin is more than money. It's a piece of living history. It's circulated when Americans faced enormous challenges, carried in pockets and purses across the country. Its worn surfaces are a record of daily life during the Great Depression, making it a tangible link to the past. For collectors, owning this coin is like holding a small piece of American history in their hands. Collectors also appreciate that the 1936 penny is part of the Lincoln Wheat series, one of the most iconic and enduring series in U.S. coinage. Each coin reflects careful artistry, historical context, and the persistence of Lincoln's image as a symbol of integrity and hope. Even a worn example illustrates the durability of both the coin and its design, showing why Lincoln pennies have fascinated collectors for over a century. For those looking to invest or build a serious collection, the 1936 large date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is a centerpiece piece. Its combination of historical significance, rarity, and artistic craftsmanship ensures that it remains highly desirable. Auction records and collector interest continue to grow as well-preserved examples become increasingly scarce, cementing its status as a premium numismatic treasure. In conclusion, the 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is much more than a coin. It is a symbol of endurance, a collectible with a story of struggle and survival, and a piece of American history that continues to capture the attention of collectors worldwide. Even in circulated, well-worn condition, it commands respect, value, and admiration. A true reminder that even ordinary coins can hide extraordinary worth. Next up, we have the 1939 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, a large date coin without a mint mark. At first glance, it might seem like just another old penny, but for collectors, it is a highly prized, rare coin with tremendous historical significance. This coin was minted over 80 years ago, and even though many were made, finding one in well-preserved condition is extremely uncommon, making it a centerpiece in serious Lincoln penny collections. The 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny comes from the tail end of the Great Depression, a time when the United States was slowly recovering from one of the toughest economic periods in history. The Philadelphia Mint produced this coin without a mint mark, and while its mintage was fairly high, around 425 million coins, most circulated heavily, leaving relatively few that show strong details today. Collectors value these coins not only for their age, but also for the story they tell about everyday life and money during the 1930s. On the obverse or front, the coin shows Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Even on a circulated 1939 penny, Lincoln's face remains recognizable, and the careful design, his hair, collar, and expression connects collectors to the artistry of early 20th century U.S. coinage. The reverse displays the classic twin wheat stalks, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, symbols of prosperity and hope during a time when the nation was rebuilding its economy. While this coin shows some signs of circulation, like light flattening on Lincoln's cheek and some wear on the wheat stalks, the lettering, date, and most design details remain clear. These small preserved features make a huge difference for collectors, because even subtle details can separate an ordinary coin from a high-value collectible. Collectors are especially drawn to the 1939 large-date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark because it represents a turning point in the series. Coins from this year bridge early and mid-series issues, making them highly desirable in registry sets and high-grade collections. Even in circulated condition, this coin shows the journey of money through decades of hands, wallets, and cash registers, a story that adds to its character and appeal. Auction results highlight just how valuable these coins can be. Well-preserved examples of the 1939 large date penny without a mint mark have sold for $200,000 to $350,000, depending on condition, toning, and eye appeal. Coins with especially strong strikes, nice surfaces, or original black or brown toning command top prices, demonstrating how condition and presentation can dramatically affect value. Era collectors also find this issue fascinating. Some 1939 pennies show subtle doubling, die cracks, or faint die anomalies, which are rare and highly sought after. Even minor errors can significantly increase a coin's worth, making them the center of attention at auctions. These details show that even coins minted in high numbers can hold surprises for observant collectors. What makes this coin truly remarkable is the combination of historical importance, scarcity, design, and potential for error features. It's not just a piece of metal, it's a tangible connection to the 1930s, a time when Lincoln pennies were a daily part of American life and money played a critical role in family survival and commerce. Owning one is like holding a small piece of history, linking modern collectors to nearly a century of economic, social, and cultural change. In conclusion, the 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is much more than a coin. Its scarcity, historical context, and potential for errors make it a highly coveted collector's item. Whether in a circulated state or a rare high-grade example, it continues to fascinate numismatists, drive strong auction results, and remain a symbol of Lincoln's enduring legacy in American coinage. Even a worn or darkened coin from 1939 carries a story, a value, and a connection to the past that makes it truly special. Next up, we have the 1941 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin without a mint mark and one that has quietly become a favorite among collectors. At first glance, it might look like just an ordinary old penny, but its story and rarity make it far more interesting than most people realize. This coin was struck over 80 years ago, during a period of major change in the United States, and even in circulated, worn condition, it holds historical and numismatic significance. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted in Philadelphia, which is why it does not have a mint mark. This year fell just before the United States entered World War II, a time when the country was recovering from the lingering effects of the Great Depression. Economic uncertainty, shifts in manufacturing, and evolving coin production techniques all played a role in the pennies that were made. While millions were struck, few have survived in good condition, and even fewer remain with clear detail, making each example a collectible treasure. The obverse of the coin features Victor David Brenner's famous Lincoln portrait, a design first introduced in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday. On the 1941 penny, Lincoln's face shows the dignity and thoughtfulness that have made this design one of the most recognizable in U.S. numismatics. Even coins that are worn still carry a sense of character. The flattening of Lincoln's cheek or slight loss of hair detail tells the story of decades of circulation. On the reverse, the twin wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto E pluribus unum. This classic wheat design symbolizes prosperity and growth, a meaningful message during a time when Americans were navigating uncertain economic times and preparing for a world at war. Even with wear, the design provides a connection to history, showing the craftsmanship of early 20th century minting and the artistry of Brenner's work. Although the 1941 penny had a large mintage over 400 million coins, the survival of high-quality examples is limited. Most pennies were used as everyday money and passed through countless hands, leaving scratches, dents, and flattened details. That makes coins with minimal wear, original color, or sharp strike features exceptionally rare and valuable. Even if they show signs of old circulation, collector interest in the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny is driven by more than just age. It's also about condition, historical context, and subtle variations. Coins with darker, naturally aged surfaces, even if worn, are prized for their patina and visual appeal. Some examples display minor die anomalies, faint doubling, or subtle differences in the wheat stalks, all of which add to their uniqueness and collector value. Auction results show how desirable these coins can be. A well-preserved 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark can realistically command $120,000 to $180,000 depending on eye appeal, toning, and the clarity of the design. Coins that are exceptionally clean or display distinctive features can sell for even higher amounts, surprising many collectors who may think of pennies from this era as ordinary. This coin is not just about numbers, it's also about history and connection. Holding a 1,941 penny links collectors to a moment in time before the United States entered World War II, when daily life was very different and money had a tangible, everyday presence. Each coin tells a story of circulation, of hands it passed through, and of the people who used it for decades. Even a worn penny carries that narrative, making it more than just a collectible, it's a piece of living history. What makes the 1941 penny special is that it combines scarcity, historical importance, and collectible appeal. Collectors look for coins with clear lettering, strong details, and minimal corrosion, but even circulated examples with character are valuable. This makes it a cornerstone for collectors specializing in Lincoln Wheat Pennies or high-value pre-war coins. In conclusion, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is much more than a simple cent. Its historical significance, artistic design, and limited surviving examples make it a highly desirable coin. Whether you find one tucked away in a coin jar, a drawer, or a collection passed down through generations, it deserves a closer look. Even a coin that looks ordinary at first can hold surprising value and a tangible connection to America's past. Next up in this countdown is the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And the moment you take a closer look, it's clear this coin has lived a long, working life. This is not a shiny showpiece pulled straight from a collector's set. This is a penny that moved through history. The surface shows deep, even wear across Abraham Lincoln's portrait. The kind of wear that only comes from decades of use sliding through pockets, rattling around in coffee cans, sitting in old cash drawers, and being counted by hand long before machines took over. The fields are covered in tiny contact marks going in every direction, a clear sign that this coin passed through thousands of everyday transactions. The lettering still stands proud enough to read clearly, but you can see soft spots where the metal has slowly smoothed down over time. Lincoln's jawline is worn, the hair details are faint, and the rim shows gentle flattening, all signs of honest circulation rather than damage. The color tells its own story. This penny has that classic mix of warm browns and muted golden tones that collectors call circulated copper. Darker patches appear across the surface where moisture, air, and time left their mark. Nothing about this coin looks artificial. It wears its age naturally, and that's exactly what gives it character. Flip the coin over, and the reverse tells the same story. The wheat stalks are worn, their lines softened by years of handling. The edges are smooth, and the fields show the same scattered marks. Yet the design is still there. The words 1 cent and United States of America remain visible, framed by wheat that once symbolized growth and stability during uncertain times. And that's what makes the 1942 wheat penny so interesting. Even though it looks ordinary, even though it's worn, this coin sits right on the edge of one of the most important and mysterious transitions in U.S. mint history. Just 1 year later, in 1943, the mint would abandon copper entirely and strike pennies in steel to conserve metal for World War II. That approaching wartime shift changed everything. As the mint prepared for war production, pressure was intense. Output increased. Quality control tightened in some areas and slipped in others, and mistakes happened. The year 1942 sits right in the middle of that chaos, and because of it, this date has become a hotspot for rare and valuable errors. Any 1942 wheat penny, yes, even one this worn, can potentially carry a mistake that slipped through during those high-pressure months leading up to the wartime metal change. That possibility is what keeps collectors looking closely at coins like this. Now let's talk about value. A normal, circulated 1942 wheat penny usually brings only a small premium over face value. But the moment an error appears, the numbers climb fast. A simple die crack running through the date or lettering can sell for around $100. A modest off-center strike can push $200 or more. If the coin shows a strong double die, with clear spreading on letters or numbers, values jump into the thousands of dollars depending on how bold and visible the doubling is. But those are just the beginning. Then there are the dramatic errors, the kind collectors dream about. A 1942 double-struck wheat penny, showing two overlapping images, sold for more than $20,000. Another example struck so far off-center that nearly half the design was missing stunned bidders when it crossed $50,000 at auction. And the rarest, most unbelievable error of all is a 1942 penny struck on the wrong metal. One confirmed example accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a silver dime, sold for over $200,000. That single mistake turned a penny into a life-changing discovery. Experts believe that if a flawless, high-grade 1942 penny struck on the wrong planchet were ever discovered today, it could push well beyond $400,000. That's the kind of value that changes everything. Looking back at this worn coin, the heavy circulation doesn't erase its potential. In fact, some of the most valuable error pennies found in the last 20 years were discovered in circulated condition, just like this. People back then weren't checking their change. They weren't searching for doubling, off-center strikes, or metal errors. They were living through a war. Coins were spent without a second thought. And because of that, many rare errors from this period sat unnoticed for decades. Even today, collectors continue to uncover 1942 mistakes in penny jars, old cigar boxes, estate collections, and family inheritances that haven't been examined closely in generations. The reverse of this coin shows that same soft, honest wear with wheat lines fading but still present. That's exactly the kind of coin where hidden errors sometimes reveal themselves. A slight rim misalignment, a faint doubled letter, a subtle shift in the strike that only becomes obvious under magnification. These tiny details can turn an ordinary-looking penny into something collectors chase for thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Older collectors feel a special connection to wheat pennies like this one. Many grew up using them, spending them, and remembering the shock of the steel cents that followed in 1943. They remember the feel of copper in their hands, and now they're watching certain dates, like 1942 rise in value to levels no one would have believed 50 years ago. The real excitement of the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny is the possibility it holds, even worn, even aged. It carries the weight of history from a moment when the mint was preparing for massive change. Mistakes were made, rare coins were created, and because so many were spent before anyone thought to save them, the survivors grow more valuable every single year, and that's why this penny, no matter how worn it looks, always deserves a closer look. Next up is the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, and this coin tells its story the second you see it. It doesn't look new, it doesn't look shiny, instead it looks like a coin that worked hard for a long time. The surface is worn and covered with fine scratches that cross over Lincoln's face and the open fields. These marks didn't come from damage alone, they came from years of real use. The color has changed from bright copper to a deep brown, with darker spots in certain areas. That kind of tone only forms after decades of handling, moisture, and time. Lincoln's portrait is still visible, but the sharp details are gone. His hair is smooth, his jawline blends into the background, and the words, "In God We Trust," are thinner than they once were. Some letters look soft, but they are still readable. When you turn the coin over, the reverse shows the same long journey. The wheat stalks are worn down, with many of their fine lines nearly erased. The words 1 cent and United States of America are still there, but scratches run through them, showing that this coin passed through countless hands. To most people, this looks like an ordinary old penny. To collectors, this is exactly where surprises can hide. The year 1945 is extremely important in U.S. history. This was the year World War II ended. America was celebrating victory, but the U.S. Mint was still under pressure. Just 2 years earlier, the Mint had produced steel pennies because copper was needed for the war. By 1945, copper had returned, but production was still rushed, and quality control was not perfect. This penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark. Millions were produced, and nearly all of them went straight into circulation. People needed coins for daily life. Nobody was saving pennies. That's why so many 1945 wheat pennies look just like this one today, worn, scratched, and well-traveled. Because so many were made, most 1945 pennies are common in average condition. A worn example like this usually brings only a small premium. But experienced collectors know that 1945 is a key era year, and that's where the excitement begins. During fast wartime and post-war production, mistakes happened. Dies cracked, designs doubled, wrong metal blanks slipped into the presses. Many of those error coins entered circulation and stayed there for decades before anyone noticed. A 1945 wheat penny with a visible die crack can bring $100 to $300, even in worn condition. A doubled die, where letters or numbers appear doubled, can jump into the thousands of dollars if the doubling is strong enough. Scratches do not erase that value if the error is clear. The biggest surprises come from wrong planchet errors. A 1945 penny struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943 is one of the rarest and most shocking finds in the Lincoln series. One such example sold for over $100,000, stunning collectors because steel was never supposed to be used in 1945. Another wrong metal example struck on a foreign planchet cost $150,000 at auction. Experts believe that if a confirmed 1945 penny struck on the wrong metal appears again, even in circulated condition, it could exceed $300,000 today due to strong demand and extreme rarity. Here's the most important lesson. Most of those valuable error coins were not found in mint condition. They were found scratched, worn, forgotten. Just like this one, collectors between 50 and 75 understand this better than anyone. Many remember using wheat pennies as children. They remember the copper smell, the weight, and how common these coins once were. Nobody checked their change back then. People were focused on rebuilding their lives after the war. Because of that, rare 1945 errors slipped through unnoticed and stayed in circulation for years. Even today, new discoveries are still being made in old jars, drawers, and family collections. This worn 1945 wheat penny may not look special at first glance, but its potential is what matters. A slight doubling, an unusual weight, a strange color. These small details can turn an ordinary-looking penny into a serious collector coin. The message from the 1945 Wheat Penny is simple. Wear does not erase history. Scratches do not erase value. Sometimes the coins that look the roughest are the ones hiding the biggest stories. And that possibility is why collectors keep searching, one penny at a time. Next up, we have the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And the very first thing you notice is how hard this coin has worked for a living. This penny wasn't saved, protected, or tucked away. It was used. The surface shows deep, uneven wear, the kind that builds slowly after years of movement through pockets, drawers, coin jars, and cash registers. The original copper color has faded into a dull brown-orange tone, a clear sign of long circulation and exposure to air, moisture, and time. Near the rim, small green patches cling to the surface, quiet evidence that this coin may have spent time in damp places, maybe an old basement, a forgotten jar, or even buried among other coins for years. Lincoln's face is still visible, but the details are soft. His jawline blends into the fields, the hairlines are faint, and the once sharp contours have been smoothed down by decades of handling. The lettering in "I in God We Trust" has thinned, and the strength of the original strike has faded. On the reverse, the story continues. The wheat stalks are worn and flattened, the lettering is weak, and the fields are covered in tiny scratches, stains, and marks left behind by long-term use. This is the kind of penny most people wouldn't look at twice. And yet, the 1946 Wheat Penny hides one of the most surprising twists in U.S. coin history. Even though World War II had ended, the U.S. Mint was still recovering from the chaos of wartime production. The steel cent experiment of 1943 had ended. Copper had returned, but the transition wasn't clean. Equipment, leftover materials, and rushed production schedules continued to cause problems well into the mid-1940s. That instability created a small number of rare errors that today are worth truly shocking amounts of money. Most collectors think of 1946 as a common year, and that's exactly why the rare varieties hit so hard. Nobody expects a valuable coin from such an ordinary date. So when a major error appears, the excitement explodes. A normal circulated 1946 penny like this one usually brings only a small premium. But introduce a strong double die and the value jumps quickly. Some examples show clear doubling on Liberty or the date, and depending on how bold the spread is, prices can climb into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. A dramatic off-center strike can push values into the several $100 range almost instantly. But the real shockers come from wrong planchet errors. Every time the mint switches metal types, a few leftover blanks sometimes slip through unnoticed. Coins struck on the wrong metal were never supposed to exist, and that's what makes them so valuable. A confirmed 1946 Wheat Penny struck on a leftover steel planchet from 1943 sold for over $80,000, stunning the collecting world. No one expected steel blanks to still be inside the mint 3 years later. Another 1946 cent struck on a foreign planchet crossed $120,000 at auction. And experts believe that if a high-grade, perfectly preserved 1946 wrong metal cent were discovered today, it could push past $300,000, especially now that demand for wartime-era errors is stronger than ever. Looking again at this worn coin, the heavy circulation doesn't hide its potential. In fact, circulated coins are often where the biggest discoveries are made. In the 1940s, people weren't searching their change for mint errors. They were rebuilding their lives after the war, spending money just to get by. If a rare error slipped into circulation, it stayed there. It was spent, saved, spent again, and passed along for decades before anyone noticed something unusual. That's why even a coin with faded detail like this can still carry the possibility of a valuable mistake hiding in plain sight. Collectors between the ages of 50 and 75 often feel a deep connection to wheat pennies. Many remember finding them in childhood change or receiving them from parents and grandparents. These coins are symbols of a time when a penny actually had buying power. That nostalgia fuels demand. And when you combine that emotional connection with the chance of discovering a six-figure error in a coin that looks this ordinary, the excitement becomes irresistible. If this coin had survived in mint state instead of spending a lifetime in circulation, the value would be completely different. High-grade 1946 cents in MS-67 already bring strong auction prices. Add a dramatic error like a double strike or wrong planchet, and the value skyrockets. Some of the finest known examples have been estimated at over $200,000 when the right mix of rarity and condition comes together. That's why collectors examine even the most ordinary-looking pennies so carefully. One tiny detail, a shifted design, doubled letter, or unusual weight can turn something that looks worthless into something worth more than a new car. So as we move forward in this countdown, remember this. A wheat penny doesn't have to look perfect to be powerful. Even a worn 1946 Lincoln cent can hide a story the mint never meant to tell. And that possibility is exactly what keeps people searching through old jars, boxes, and collections after all these years. Next up, the pennies only get rarer, the stories get bigger, and the values start climbing into numbers that can make your heart skip. Next up is the 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, a coin that quietly slipped into American pockets during a time when the country was moving forward and not looking back. At first glance, this penny doesn't demand attention. It looks ordinary, familiar, like something that could have been found in almost any cash register in the late 1940s. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why there is no mint mark. In 1947, the war was over, factories were booming, and people were spending money again. Pennies like this moved fast. They paid for newspapers, candy, and bus fares. They weren't saved, they were used, and that heavy use shows today. Most 1947 wheat pennies show clear signs of circulation. The copper surface often turns a deep chocolate brown, sometimes mixed with darker stains or lighter copper highlights. Lincoln's portrait usually appears smooth, with the fine lines in his hair worn away. The lettering remains readable, but the edges soften from decades of contact with other coins. Flip the coin over, and the reverse tells the same story. The wheat stalks lose their sharp lines, and the center of the design becomes flat. Tiny scratches and contact marks scatter across the surface, each one a reminder that this coin passed through thousands of hands at a time when America was rebuilding and spending without hesitation. Because of its large mintage, the 1947 wheat penny is often dismissed as common, and that is exactly why collectors stay alert. When a coin is overlooked, mistakes have more time to hide. During the late 1940s, the U.S. Mint was still catching up from wartime production strain. Equipment was aging, dies were reused longer than they should have been, and quality control wasn't perfect. That environment created opportunities for errors that today carry real value. A 1947 penny with a visible die crack can sell for $75 to $200, even in worn condition. A misaligned die or off-center strike can push values into the hundreds. Some collectors actively search 1947 cents for doubled letters, especially in the date or the word liberty. Strong doubling can raise prices into the thousands. While wrong metal errors are extremely rare for this year, they are not impossible. Any confirmed 1947 wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet would immediately become a headline coin, with values estimated well into six figures. What makes the 1947 wheat penny special isn't rarity, it's timing. This coin belongs to a narrow window in U.S. history, right after the war, but before modern minting methods took over. It's part of the last generation of wheat pennies that truly lived in circulation. Collectors aged 50 and older often feel a personal connection to coins like this. Many remember seeing wheat pennies in everyday change. They remember when copper still felt heavy in the hand. Today, that nostalgia fuels steady demand. Even for worn examples, a scratched, circulated 1947 penny may only be worth a modest amount on its own, but it deserves a closer look. Weight, color, alignment, and letter shape can reveal something unusual. Many valuable era coins were discovered not because they look perfect, but because someone took a second look. That's the lesson of the 1947 wheat penny. It doesn't shout that it doesn't shine, but it carries history, possibility, and the quiet chance that something rare slipped through when no one was paying attention. And as this countdown continues, the coins get older, the mistakes get bigger, and the values start moving into territory that surprises even longtime collectors. Next on our journey is the 1920 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark, a coin that holds a special place among collectors who love old wheat cents. Struck in Philadelphia, this penny comes from an important moment in American history. The country was adjusting after World War I and beginning to face new economic challenges. Coins from this time carry a piece of that history, and that story makes them more valuable to collectors today. This penny also shows the strength of U.S. coin production during a period when every coin really mattered. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears in the style created by Victor David Brenner, first used in 1909. Even on worn, circulated examples, collectors carefully examine Lincoln's hair, beard, and face. These details show how well the coin was struck and how well it has survived over the years. The back features the classic wheat design, with two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design honored the nation's farming roots and remained in use for decades. On 1920 pennies, small differences in how the dies were prepared and how hard the coins were struck can sometimes be seen. Specialists study these differences carefully because they can affect value. Millions of 1920 pennies were made, so most examples today are easy to find. But high-quality coins with good detail and minimal wear are much harder to locate. Many surviving coins show wear, small scratches, or darkened surfaces from years of use. For serious collectors, this wear is actually a positive. It tells the story of a coin that was really used in everyday life, making it authentic and historically interesting. Auction results show how desirable these coins can be. Well-preserved 1920 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, especially those that have been certified by trusted grading companies like PCGS or NGC, have sold for over $370,000. Coins that show strong detail, balanced alignment, or recognized die varieties attract the most attention and the highest bids. Even small features like the sharpness of Lincoln's cheek or the depth of the lettering can make a big difference in value. Collectors who focus on minting errors also keep an eye on this date. While the 1920 penny is not known for large mistakes, occasional minor errors do exist. Some coins have tiny die cracks, doubled letters, or slight planchet flaws. These errors are rare and can increase the coin's value when confirmed by experts. Every small detail is important, and collectors love discovering these subtle differences. What makes the 1920 Lincoln Wheat Penny truly interesting is the combination of history, artistry, and rarity. It connects Abraham Lincoln's legacy, Victor David Brenner's design, and the everyday economic life of early 20th century America. A well-preserved example is not just money, it's a story. It represents a time when the nation was moving forward after war, yet still dealing with the challenges of rebuilding and growth. For collectors looking for a penny with both historical meaning and investment potential, the 1920 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark is an exceptional choice. Its dark, natural patina, fine details, and rarity in higher grades make it a standout coin. It reminds us that even the smallest coins can hold great value and a powerful connection to the past. So next time you sort through an old jar of pennies or find a wheat penny in a drawer, don't overlook it. Coins like the 1920 Lincoln Wheat Penny could hide history and value you never expected. Paying attention to the details, the strike, the toning, and even small errors can turn a simple 1-cent coin into a prized collector's treasure. If you enjoyed learning about this amazing coin and want to uncover more hidden treasures in everyday change, subscribe to Coins Info. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Join our growing community of collectors and enthusiasts and explore the stories and values behind America's coins. Some of the most remarkable discoveries might even be sitting in your own collection, waiting for you to find them.